The rain hadn't stopped for 3 days. Water streamed from the rusted beams of the Union Station platform in downtown Chicago, pooling into murky puddles beneath the benches. People passed through like shadows, umbrellas up, eyes down, lives elsewhere. Marcus Lane sat alone on a wooden bench near track 12, his coat soaked, his shoes worn to the thread. His beard was thick, salt and pepper, and his hands bore the grime of someone who hadn't owned a mirror in years. But his eyes were sharp, watching, remembering. A crumpled copy of the Chicago Tribune sat next to him. He had circled a small article in pen, something about VitalArc, the new national healthcare system rolling out its second biometric integration phase. Marcus stared at the headline, jaw clenched. From somewhere down the platform, a soft sound broke the hum of rain. A child crying. He turned. Near a metal column, a young boy, 8, maybe 9, sat alone, clutching his chest. His lips were blue, his breathing erratic. No parent in sight. Marcus stood immediately, instincts overriding caution. He knelt beside the boy. Hey, kid, what's your name?" The boy didn't answer. He gasped, eyes rolling back. A seizure. Marcus yanked off his coat, laid the boy down, checked for obstruction, stabilized the head. Calm, precise, practiced. He pulled out an old plastic card from his coat. A retired EMT emergency responder badge from years ago. Outdated, worn, but still trusted. A crowd gathered. Someone called 911. Within 5 minutes, paramedics arrived. A young woman in scrubs stepped out of the ambulance. Dr. Celia Moore, calm but brisk. "Who's the first responder?" "I am," Marcus said. She eyed him, ragged clothes, soaked beard, then the old EMT badge. "You did the right thing," she admitted. "Do you know the boy?" Marcus shook his head. They loaded the child into the van. Celia scanned his wristband, but her tablet screen blinked. No record found, identity mismatch. Patient profile unregistered. She frowned. "Impossible." Marcus, watching from a distance, whispered, "They've started rewriting the entries." Celia turned to him. "What?" But Marcus was already walking away, back to his bench, back into the rain. Because deep down he knew that child didn't exist in the system, but someone wanted it that way. And Marcus Lane, the man the world forgot, was the only one who could read the lines of code buried beneath it all. That night, Marcus sat hunched in the far corner of a 24-hour diner near the South Loop. A mug of bitter coffee steamed next to a scarred laptop, its screen flickering like a dying light bulb. Outside, rain had turned to sleet. Inside, fluorescent bulbs buzzed softly overhead as truckers and night workers shuffled in and out. He typed fast, fingers moving with practiced urgency, breaking into systems he had once built from scratch. VitalArc, the national healthcare system, the crown jewel of America's medical data infrastructure. And his biggest mistake. Marcus accessed a shadow login portal, one only engineers like him would have known about. The interface was buried 5 layers deep under public systems, encrypted, ghosted, invisible to ordinary users. He fed in the biometric sequence he had memorized from the boy's wristband earlier that day. The screen paused, then replied, "Error 403, access denied, Tier X authorization required." Tier X? Marcus froze. That was never meant to be part of the public release. It was a hidden class, meant only for classified research and experimental access layers. Even he hadn't seen it active. He dug further, brute forcing the logs manually. Lines of code spilled down the screen. His eyes scanned faster than most could read. Dozens of patient profiles, all marked as children, each one tagged with invisible metadata. Profile type, synthetic overlay. Consent overridden. Biometric verification disabled. He leaned back, heart pounding. They weren't just storing patient data. They were creating artificial identities. Fake children built on top of real ones. And worse, they were wiping the originals. He clicked into one record labeled Neon Reset, Phase 3, Active Subjects. There was the boy. Same face, same wristband ID. But the profile had a creation date of only 7 days ago. Marcus clenched his fists. They erased him. Suddenly, a soft chime pinged. Unknown remote access handshake detected. Marcus's stomach dropped. He launched a scramble trace, watching as the IP bounced across multiple countries before resolving. VitalArc HQ Chicago. They were watching the login. They knew someone was in. He yanked the Ethernet cord, slammed the laptop shut, and shoved it in his backpack. Time was up. Outside, snow flurried under the dim glow of street lamps. He made his way across wet asphalt to the neighborhood clinic where he'd last seen Dr. Celia Moore. The receptionist gave him a skeptical look. "She's off shift," she said. "Back tomorrow morning." Marcus pulled a folded slip of paper from his coat and slid it across the desk. "Give this to her. It is urgent." The receptionist hesitated. "Name?" "Just tell her it's the guy from Union Station," he said, "and tell her she's being watched." Then he walked back into the night, coat soaked, eyes alert, past burning trash bins and sleeping strangers beneath viaducts. Because he knew now, they hadn't finished choosing their test subjects. But somehow, he was still alive, still off-grid, still the last chosen. Marcus hadn't been back to the north side in almost 7 years. The last time he stood on these sidewalks, he wore a pressed suit and carried a security badge with level 6 clearance. Now, he blended into the street like static, just another shadow with a backpack, walking through wind and snow. He stopped in front of a brownstone wedged between 2 empty storefronts. The buzzer was broken. Typical. He tapped out a rhythmic knock, 4 beats, pause, 2 beats, an old code. The door opened just a crack. A narrow face peered out, gaunt, jittery, wrapped in paranoia. "Marcus?" He nodded once. "Hey, Jonah?" The door opened wider. Jonah Chen, once a cybersecurity prodigy at VitalArc, looked like he hadn't slept in days. His hoodie hung off his shoulders. His fingers twitched with an anxious rhythm. "I thought you were dead," Jonah whispered. "I was supposed to be." Inside, cables snaked across the floor like roots. A bank of computers hummed in the dark, casting LED light on conspiracy maps pinned to the walls. Data breaches, medical trials, missing persons. It looked like a war room, and maybe it was. "You saw the Tier X files, didn't you?" Marcus asked. Jonah's eyes flicked toward a black monitor in the corner. "I helped write the encryption," he admitted. "Then they reassigned me, locked me out. Said the project was above my pay grade." "Neon Reset?" Jonah nodded. "It started as anonymized simulation modeling. Profiles built on theoretical patients, safe, synthetic. Then someone gave the green light to test overlays on real people." "And the kid at Union Station?" "Not the first," Jonah said darkly. "Just the one you caught in time." Marcus stepped forward. "Why didn't you stop it?" Jonah swallowed. "I tried. But once the project left R&D, it disappeared into private defense contracts and black medical firms. They don't even use VitalArc servers anymore. They have a mirror net. Off-grid, clean, isolated." "Where?" Jonah hesitated. "They bounce it through private medical campuses. But there's a known gateway. Inside Miragen Research, west of Logan Square." Marcus tensed. "That's where they're rewriting the children." Jonah nodded. "They don't just erase data, Marcus. They rewrite memories, family registries, insurance histories. To the system, the child never existed." Marcus stared at the screen. "And if I go in?" Jonah met his gaze. For once, the tremble in his hands stopped. "You won't come out. But if you do, they won't either." Before Marcus left, Jonah handed him a burner phone and a small flash drive. "What's this?" "A legacy key," Jonah said. "From back when we were gods in that system. If you get to the server core, this might still open the vault." Marcus stared at it. A piece of his past. A final access token from a life long gone. He slipped it into his coat, nodded, and disappeared down the snowy street. Because if the ghosts inside Miragen were rewriting children's lives, then someone had to go in and remember what was real. 2 nights later, Marcus stood across the street from Miragen Research Facility. From the outside, it looked like any other medical tech campus. Glass windows, card readers, polite signage with VitalArc Collaboration Initiative beneath the logo. But beneath it, Jonah had said, was the gateway to something far more dangerous. The vault. 11:37 p.m. The wind whipped hard through Logan Square. Marcus wore dark clothes and carried nothing but the burner phone, the legacy key, and a silent resolve sharpened by years of exile. He moved fast, slipping through a side fence and toward the old utility door Jonah had marked on a blueprint. The lock was biometric, but Marcus still remembered admin bypass codes from back when he wrote them. Beep, access granted. He slipped inside. The hallway was dim and sterile. No guards, no cameras, at least none he could see. But he knew Miragen's deeper levels were air-gapped, disconnected from all public networks, which meant whatever they were doing, they never wanted it traced. After 10 minutes weaving through corridors, he reached the elevator with a physical key slot, something no building had used in years. He inserted Jonah's legacy key. The panel lit up. A single-floor option appeared. 3. Marcus pressed it. The elevator rumbled downward, past ground, sub-level 1, then 2, until it groaned to a halt in near silence. The door slid open. The temperature dropped. Before him lay a long hallway bathed in cold blue light. Frosted glass panels lined both sides, and behind them, rows of cryopods. Children. Dozens of them. Each pod labeled with fake names, project codes, and the same signature. Neon reset. Phase 3. Status stabilized. Marcus's breath caught. He stepped forward, heart pounding. One of the pods displayed biometric data in real time. The child inside twitched slightly, alive, dreaming, or trapped. Suddenly, a sharp click echoed behind him. A security drone whirred to life. Unauthorized access detected. Marcus dropped to the floor just as the turret spun toward him. He rolled, yanked a fire extinguisher from the wall, and slammed it into the drone. Sparks flew. He sprinted down the corridor. Red lights flashed. Sirens wailed. He ducked into a server room and slammed the door behind him. Lock override granted. Inside, the vault towered with stacked drives, humming quietly. This was the core, the brain of the Neon Reset project. He reached the terminal and plugged in Jonah's flash drive. Access granted. A terminal prompt opened. Marcus's fingers flew across the keyboard, decrypting names, reversing overlays, unlocking files. Within minutes, he had full data on all 72 subjects, their original identities, their families, their lives before they were reset. He paused. One name blinked. Eli Rivera, age 9. Status, seizure incident, flagged as unstable. Current identity, unknown. It was the boy from the station. Marcus hit download. Suddenly, the screens went dark. A voice came through the intercom. I thought we erased you. Marcus froze. It was Darian Voss, the new director of VitalArc security. A man Marcus once mentored, and now the one hunting him. You built this, the voice sneered. You just never understood what it could do. Marcus whispered, You're killing them. No, Darian replied. We are preserving data. Humans are chaotic. We're simply rewriting better versions. Marcus ejected the drive, smashed the terminal with a wrench, and ran. He barely made it back to the street before the lockdown sealed. Blood on his hand, data in his pocket, fire in his chest. He looked back at the building, glowing cold and perfect under city lights. And he knew. This wasn't a system anymore. It was a machine. And machines don't ask permission. They just overwrite. Marcus didn't sleep. After escaping Miragen with the flash drive, he vanished into Chicago's underground for 2 days. Constantly on the move, switching trains, changing clothes, wiping his digital traces like a ghost. He knew what he had now. Not just data. Evidence. 72 children, 72 stolen identities, and one organization trying to erase them all. On the third morning, he knocked on the back door of a small free clinic near Pilsen. Dr. Celia Moore opened it, wide-eyed. Where the hell have you been? She whispered, pulling him inside. He handed her the flash drive, hands shaking. They're in there. Everything. The children, the program, the names. Celia stared at the drive, then at him.
You look like you've seen a ghost.
I've seen 72. Later that afternoon, they met Jonah at an abandoned broadcast studio that once belonged to a college radio station. The equipment was dusty but functional. The antenna still worked. And most importantly, it could send a live encrypted feed to the internet through a dark mirror channel that Darian Voss couldn't block fast enough. Marcus placed the flash drive into the terminal. Jonah tapped at the keys, nervous. "We go live in 5 minutes. If we do this, there's no going back." "Good," Marcus said. "They've erased enough." Celia stood nearby, arms crossed. "We'll need a voice." Jonah looked up. "Yours?" Marcus froze. "No." "You're the one they tried to erase," Celia said gently. "You're the proof that their system isn't perfect." "You're the ghost that came back," Jonah added. "They won't see it coming." When the feed went live, Marcus sat in front of the camera, back straight, voice calm. "My name is Marcus Lane. You may not know that name anymore, but you should have." He spoke clearly without anger, only truth. "I helped build the system that holds your medical records. The one you trust. The one they call VitalArc. I believed in it. I believed in transparency, privacy, protection." He held up a sheet of paper. "This is Eli Rivera. He's 9 years old. He had a seizure on a train platform last week. His medical profile said he didn't exist. But he does." Behind him, Jonah projected decrypted screenshots. The cryopods, the fabricated records, the overlays. "They call it Neon Reset, a program designed to overwrite identities. Real children, real families. Deleted, rewritten, controlled. In the name of medical research. In the name of order." He paused. "They tried to delete me too, but I remembered. And now, so will you." Within minutes, the video spread like wildfire, mirrored across torrent networks picked up by activists, journalists, and whistleblower sites. A viral headline emerged: "The Doctor Who Erased Children. VitalArc whistleblower speaks out." That night, as snow blanketed Chicago, Marcus, Celia, and Jonah watched the live feed views climb into the millions. "I think we just made history," Jonah whispered. "No," Marcus said, eyes on the skyline. "We just made it visible." Somewhere deep inside Miragen HQ, Darian Voss watched the stream, expressionless. Then he picked up a phone. "Activate Phase 4, full lockdown. Bring me Marcus Lane, dead or alive." Marcus Lane was no longer a ghost. He was now a target. The moment his face appeared on screens across the country, every dormant protocol buried deep in VitalArc's infrastructure came alive. AI surveillance nodes flagged his features. Law enforcement terminals quietly updated their national threat databases. A silent manhunt had begun. Not public, not official, but devastatingly efficient. They didn't need to send police. They had algorithms. In a windowless safe house south of the Loop, Marcus sat with Jonah and Celia. The room smelled like dust and burnt coffee. A single bulb swayed above their heads. Jonah tapped furiously at his laptop. "They've shut down all the mirror streams. Only 2 copies of the video are still live, and both are being throttled." "They'll bury the truth like they buried those kids," Celia said. "No," Marcus replied, standing. "Not this time." He reached into his coat and pulled out a folded blueprint. Faded, yellowed, but unmistakable. It was the original design map of the VitalArc Central Server Nexus. Jonah stared at it, eyes wide. This was never submitted to federal review." Marcus nodded. "Because it wasn't supposed to exist. It was a contingency, built below the old city archives. Independent power, full autonomy, no internet access. It's where they keep the root key." Celia blinked. "The root key?" Marcus turned to her. "The master switch. Every identity, every overlay, every data rewrite in the system passes through it. If we get to it, we don't just expose them." He looked at Jonah. "We shut them down." Meanwhile, 3 black SUVs slid through Chicago's side streets like predators. Inside, agents in tactical gear scanned facial recognition feeds, drone footage, and credit card activity, looking for one man. Darian Voss watched from the command center. He said nothing. He didn't need to. On his screen, Marcus's name glowed red next to a single status line. Target X Engineer, Tier X Knowledge, Containment Level Critical. Back in the safe house, Marcus packed his old laptop, the legacy key, and a backup drive. If we don't make it back, he said, you upload everything. Full access logs, the names, the map of the vault. We? Celia asked. Marcus looked at her. You're not coming? She held his gaze, steady and unwavering. I didn't come this far to watch from a basement. Jonah stood, hesitated, then nodded. I'll stay here. Be your voice on the outside. But if they breach this place, you'll erase it all, Marcus said. Better it vanishes than be captured. He looked at both of them, face calm despite the storm approaching. They built a perfect system to rewrite people. But they forgot something. What's that? Celia asked. Marcus smiled. I built it first. Outside, snow began to fall again, thin flakes swirling beneath flickering street lamps. And in the shadows of the city, a former ghost prepared to strike at the very heart of the machine that tried to erase him. Because sometimes, the only way to fight the future is to remember the past. 2:12 a.m. Beneath the sleeping city, Marcus and Celia moved through forgotten tunnels, bricked over train platforms, maintenance shafts, steam lines from another century. The map in Marcus's hand was burned into his mind, but he checked it anyway. There were no second chances. They reached a sealed steel door with no handle, no keypad, just a smooth surface. Celia looked uncertain. How do we open it? Marcus knelt and pulled the legacy key from his coat. The metal shimmered slightly in the dark, worn from time but still alive with dormant authority. He pressed it to the wall. A soft tone rang out. The door hissed, and slowly it slid open. Inside, the temperature dropped instantly. They entered a cavernous chamber lined with white columns and humming machines. Blue LED light pulsed softly in the walls like a heartbeat. In the center stood a single terminal on a raised platform, surrounded by coils, antennae, and what looked like pulsing memory banks the size of coffins. The root core, Marcus whispered. Celia looked around. Where's the security? Marcus shook his head. There isn't any. She frowned. Why? Because no one's ever supposed to know this place exists, and no one was ever meant to come back. He approached the terminal and plugged in Jonah's final access key. The interface bloomed to life, lines of code crawling across the screen like veins. VitalArc root interface. Status active, control unlocked. A prompt blinked. Execute global restore? YN. Once I hit yes, Marcus said, it'll trigger every original identity backup. The overlays collapse. The real records come back. The kids, they get their lives again. Celia stepped closer. And them? Their system implodes. Every facility using Tier X will crash. Thousands of false trials. Billions in buried data. Gone. She paused. And you? Marcus didn't answer. She looked at him. Marcus, I'm part of the system, he said quietly. My signature code still anchors the key registry. Once I restore the core, the system will isolate all foreign traces, including mine. I won't make it out. Celia stared at him. No, you have to leave now. Not without you. He smiled, sad, grateful. You already saved me. The night you listened. That's more than anyone did for 7 years. She shook her head. There has to be another way. There isn't, he said, hand over the keyboard. But there is a right way. Suddenly, a voice crackled through the chamber. Don't do it. Celia turned. From the far side of the room, Darian Voss emerged, gun raised, coat soaked, eyes wild. You destroy this, you erase the only thing that makes us gods, he spat. Marcus turned slowly. You're not gods. You're editors. Liars. But people remember who they were. No system can change that forever. Voss raised the gun higher. Step away from the terminal. Celia moved in front of Marcus. No. Voss's finger tensed. Then, bang! A shot rang out. Celia gasped, but not from pain. From behind Voss, Jonah appeared, holding a small trank gun, taken from one of Voss's own guards. Voss collapsed unconscious. Jonah stepped forward, panting. I had a feeling you'd need a plan B. Marcus laughed once, brokenly. Celia grabbed his arm. Now, do it. Marcus nodded. He hit Y. All across the country, hospital terminals blinked. Systems rebooted. Children's names returned to school rosters. Medical profiles reappeared. And far away, in a cold server room beneath Chicago, the heart of the machine died. When Marcus awoke, the chamber was dark, silent. Celia sat beside him, bruised but alive. Jonah leaned against the wall, smiling faintly. "You made it," Celia whispered. "No," Marcus said, looking up at the flickering light overhead. "We did." 1 week later, the snow melted. Spring sunlight spilled over Chicago's streets like a quiet apology. Billboards for VitalArc were torn down. Media channels buzzed with terms the public had never heard before. Synthetic overlays, Tier X trials, identity scrubbing. For the first time, the system that claimed to save lives was being asked to account for them. And through it all, one name kept returning in the headlines: Marcus Lane, the man who reset the machine. At a modest community shelter on the south side, Marcus sat on a bench in the courtyard, watching a group of children play. Their laughter filled the air like music. Among them was Eli Rivera, the boy from the train platform, now reunited with his mother, a teacher who had spent months believing her son had disappeared. Celia sat beside Marcus, sipping coffee. "They've dropped the charges," she said. He looked at her. "Against you," she clarified. "The Federal Review Board cleared your name, said your work saved lives." Marcus stared at the children. "Took long enough." Jonah arrived, waving a crumpled newspaper. "Your face is on the front page again," he said, half smirking.
"I liked it better when I was invisible,"
Marcus replied. But in truth, he didn't. Later that day, Marcus stood in front of the remnants of an old building, the very one that had once hosted the prototype for VitalArc's root servers. It had been shuttered, condemned. He walked inside alone. In a dusty corner, beneath a broken light fixture, he found something he hadn't seen in years: a whiteboard. On it, in faded marker, were the first principles he and Jonah once wrote down when designing VitalArc. People aren't data. Truth doesn't fear access. No life is synthetic. He stared at it for a long time. Then he picked up a marker and wrote one more line. "The system can be rewritten, but so can we." That night, a new site launched online. It wasn't government-owned. It wasn't corporate. It was open source, anonymous, and run by volunteers. Its name, Reclaim, a place where families could find lost identities, where whistleblowers could speak without fear, where the truth didn't need permission to exist. And at the bottom of the page, unsigned, sat a line of text, built by a man who remembered what they tried to delete. In the months that followed, the story of Marcus Lane became legend. But to Marcus, it wasn't legend. It was penance. It was redemption. And finally, it was peace.